It is October 1st, 2023. Getting a lot better today. After the last statement, then last night when I got home, I did another statement and people scattered. Then this morning, I went to work and it's like, where's my harassers? Well, I pulled in the park to drink my tea and started giving the statement again. And then I know my phone's tapped. So I sat in the back staff room at work, gave the statement of how I was sick and how I got well and how it took 9 months. Okay. Well, I went and took my client to Trinity Hospital. I go to leave and I had put statements on Facebook. And I go to walk out and some guy's talking to a guy. We all know they sold a video of those Asians talking to her like that. They better be fixing this. We heard they've been pulling all kinds of stuff down here. Okay? All right. I get my client home and I finish up my work and I have some time in between and they're showing up again. Well, I give a statement of, how I'm almost shot in the head driving in November of 18 to the stalkers to get my skull bashed in on 12/21/18, to the gunshot night by Christmas of 18 and my ex being caught with the shooters, to the rape and torture. Okay? I go to my second job. I take her out to Alliance. And no one better say a word to her. That minister made it up. He lied. Okay? Well, we go into several stores and I'm coming out of another one. And some guys are like, nobody should have found any of this funny at all. Nothing, none of it. Well, I put it on Facebook. FBI agent Will and FBI agent John, how would you like to find out that someone hired a sexual predator to stalk your wife and children? And you didn't know they had button cameras in your home. Somebody had hired a sexual predator to stalk, drug up, beat, and rape your wife. She's waking up, throwing up. You think she's got the flu or COVID, okay? She thought maybe she banged her arm when she ran to the bathroom. Then women get personal infections, but then it gets extremely bad. She goes to the doctor, what's wrong with me? I even showed up with a couple more marks. And then you're thinking, well, is she becoming anemic? And then it keeps happening. Then you're wondering if there's really something wrong with her. You keep going to the doctor. And then you find out some sexual predator had been stalking your wife and children, been photoshopping like shower scenes, putting your family on porn sites, been drugging up your wife with roofies, beating, raping her so she wouldn't know what happened, and telling her to say stuff, and then trying to extort money out of you. What would you do for your wife? You put her in a safe home and hunt the bastard down. So why did you make it fun of me when my rapist came in and confessed? Hmm? I hired hitmen that was hired on his own. Not the police, not agencies. But a hired hitman. Someone connected into the drug cartel that had been fake sodium pentothal on me, photoshopping a shower scene, drugging me up with roofies like they did Dar and Mike. Dar got raped, didn't even know she left with him. Found out 2 months later she was pregnant with somebody's kid she'd never even talked to, and they said she was talking fine with him. And then my neighbor Mike didn't know how he got home from a bar and how he changed his shoes and how he had money in his pocket, been driving around high all night. Do you think it's funny roofing people and then raping them and they don't know who did it to them? Violating people on every level? See, if people pull back the facade of who's actually doing this, like they say, tell people it's a drug scam. The whole thing's a drug scam. You pull back the facade of who these people are pretending to be. See, I called the hotline to the FBI. Those agents were horrible to me when I finally called them back. They had, with their own admission, been in talk to Strange, bullying me into that fake statement, say you're faking or you're sick or I won't help you. Him involving himself in religious heresy of a very low educated minister that was lying to cover up his son's adultery. And then because it blew up so big, kept using it. And then he kept even changing his lies. Huh? I want you to think about that. Kept changing his lies. Cover up his, he thought I followed him. And then it was his wife. My sister Linda followed her husband and his mistress. Came up to me. I was following him again. I got caught and I think they thought it was you. I'm sorry. Be careful. And I got thrown out the next week and Strange made up that lie. Then let Dave openly cheat to teach me a lesson behind my back. That's not teaching me a lesson. That's allowing open adultery. Now pull back the facade. Those agents then admitted that they were in contact with Pete, the hired hitman. There was no court order. There was no police in there. It was a hired hitman. The drug cartel. That's where the fake sodium pentothal, the roofie confession, so you're sleepwalking. Because there was LSD, acid, and amnesia drugs in the 1960s. The hippies and occults used to grab people and brainwash them. It's 60 years later. They have refined them till they can put them in an injection. And they control you for 4 to 6 hours. You're sleepwalking. They sleepwalked back in the 60s with LSD and acid and a bunch of other stuff. They got a lot more drugs now. So where did he think it was funny? Well, we could use Pete's tape. Oh, weird. And I don't even know who Pete is. I didn't know for a year later. And it's supposed to be a shower scene. But like people said, with that old man drugging her up and telling her to say stuff, he could have drugged her and told her to do that. And then waited and photoshopped that later. They're stalking tapes. They admitted they photoshopped everything. Then made fun of the feds for falling for it. So where was that funny? And then yell out some kind of roofie confession. I've never talked to Pete. Still haven't. I didn't even know who he was till the day of my divorce. His picture was on the wall. He was a retired judge from that county in the drug cartel, not like the one in Florida. There was a retired judge in Florida, had 100 men working for him. And that he was running human trafficking scams. His human trafficking people got 20 years. They were human trafficking me out of that house to the drug cartel under drugs. There's no attorney involved. These are fake people. That FBI agent opened a case, and he's laughing with the other agent. Stop, she don't know. And I went, what are you talking about? See, I've never even met the man. I didn't even know anything. And I said, what is he talking about? And he's giggling at me, acknowledging I didn't know for my rapist. The guy went into a federal Bureau of Investigators to a federal cop and confessed he was a hired hitman. And he didn't arrest him, and he had been drugging me. Is a hired hitman's tapes even not worth looking at? No, because why? Nothing's trustworthy. And somebody that was willing to say they had fake sodium pentothal reports, you're sleepwalking. That's where they're like, people have been, you realize how stupid those agents were, acknowledging they knew what they were doing to her and laughing at her and that she didn't know. And then listen to me informant. With their acknowledgement of that, they had talked to Strange, and Dave told our son Danny he hired Pete on his own. There was no court order. There was no police involved. It was a big drug scam from the drug cartel, scamming the FBI. Went and confessed, and he didn't arrest him. A serial, like they said, they hired a serial rapist. Now, I want you to think that they opened up a case with statements and with immunity and money, and those agents stole the money. Federal cops stole it. It's not the first time FBI agents have stolen money. There's one on Google that they stole 225 from a case. Another guy was selling stuff to the Russians, and there's been on the Department of Justice other agents involved in scams. They're not the first dirty ones. They make the good ones look bad, though. See, that's where people have to turn them in when they're stealing from victims and turning them back over to a drug cartel. Opened a case with statements, had a cop talk to Dave, even though he had already talked to him at that church. That's why he called me a liar instead of wanting to know the church's name and how would they find out. Well, they knew about Pete. Dave hired Pete on his own. They knew. With their acknowledgement of Strange's lie. Strange's lie. They had been talking to Strange. You know, people were talking around me tonight. That minister was alive. He should have spent the rest of his life in jail. Yeah. They should have been arrested the first day. You cannot hire a sexual predator, a serial rapist to drug up and frame your wife and stalk her. What would, like my friend that used to work at the Starr County Prosecutor's Office, they had to pay off that agent big time. Had his pocket good not to arrest him. Now, they had a cop talk to Dave the next day. Now, he's already talked to Dave at that church. Dave told Danny to talk to him. Where I told him somebody was up there, called me a liar because it was him. He didn't want the name of the church. And with his acknowledgement of Pete, Dave hired Pete on his own. He had already talked to Dave. He knew they knew. And it was him. It was verified by officers telling on me before I called them back. Now, we're going to put it this way. They wouldn't find it funny if they were doing this to his wife. Right? Now, like the main officer told a lady outside of Kohl's about a month ago on a Tuesday, that none of this is funny, the FBI left her up there. She said, did her ex-husband defend her? He said, yes, we taped him. So did I. Our snowman took that one to heart. When you're waking up with bruises and you're throwing up and people are laughing in your face, they're drugging you up and telling you to say crazy stuff, you get your own witnesses. Okay? The officer said, yes, we taped him. Did anyone ever talk to her? He said, no. Then they had to have framed her. He said, yes, it's documented. They framed her. Okay? Now, it's funny. The FBI left her up there. He said, I know that. Was it the drug cartel doing it to her before? He said, yes. And we seen him. She's like, none of this is funny. The FBI left her. We didn't realize it was a drug cartel. So who was in my home? The drug cartel. Running a scam on a victim. That's why they made fun of the FBI June 7th, 23 at Walmart 62, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, made fun of FBI agent Sean. That they fooled him to call. And that's why Eric made fun of you when the drug dealers, November 18, 22, Walmart 62 by the hair salon. How he made fooled all these people. And June 23rd, June 30th, 23. People were talking in Metzger's Park that they had him over a party. Why would you have Eric at your party? He's a human trafficker. Human traffickers sell women and children for sex license and to be murdered. Do you want him to eye out your family and friends? Did he set up button cameras in your house, stalking you? Are you next? And are you nuts having a serial killer and a child molester in your home? Because that's what human traffickers are. Now, we're going to put it this way. And they were laughing how he fooled it. All these people made fools out of him. And they all fell for his stunner tapes before. Where November 18, 22, he made fun of everybody in Walmart 62. Cops all know he made fun of people and confessed everything was him before. And the call also confessed that it was only stunts. And they fooled an FBI agent. June 7th, 23, Walmart 62. And sold videos of it. Now, I want you to think about that. Pull back the facade, like that guy said. The officer told some lady, it's documented it was a medication error before that made her sick. And it's documented some other woman was using her insurance. She's like, no, this is funny. The FBI left her up there. Do you know the day that Phil and Tyler got killed in that traffic accident when he ran the stop sign? It was May 3rd, 2003. I had been working with Dr. Eli with the fentanyl patches and getting out, moving around. I told you I went from a 24 down to a 16. I deflated that fast in 7-8 months. I was so strong by then. I was walking outside. Okay. When Brian knocked on the door, I'd been going up and down the steps with just my braces trying to learn to walk again. And waddled like a duck. Okay. My feet are still numb, but they're way down. Well, I got to the door and John had come up and Brian said they had got killed. Well, John grabbed his phone. He runs by me. Rivers of tears. Runs out the door. And the other boys came up and they were talking to Brian. Well, my baby's crying. I got myself down off the steps and I waddled the little bit down the driveway like a duck, like toddling, like a 1-year-old. And I'm waddled. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. You fall, you break something, you're on cement now. Okay? And I waddled to the car with just braces. Knocked on the window, he opened the window, he's like, they really are dead. Rivers of tears. And I said, are you okay? And he said, I'm talking to my friend. I said, you let me know if you need me. And I waddled back to the house and got in. Someone said they talked to Brian. He said he did see her walk with just braces. Well, yeah, and other people seen me. My mom, my brother knew I was taking steps with nothing and then falling on my face or my ass. I've been practicing walking for months. As the swelling went down, Dr. Eli was actually getting mad because it was taking me so long to get well. Where he had a lady not quite as bad as me. In 9 months, yeah, I had to run on a treadmill. Well, I had brain swelling from the wrong medication. My face was swollen, my brain was swollen, my heart's getting off, my thyroid had quit working, my adrenal gland quit working, my heart's getting off, and I have a massive amount of fluid all over my body. Well, I had to get off that medication. All that swelling had to slowly leave my body, and as it left, everything started working. I would go into the endocrinologist, and they do my blood work for my synthroid, for my thyroid, and they're like, well, your thyroid's starting to work again. Go back in a month. Well, at this point, it's already working. We need to just get you down to a half a pill for a couple days and then to get you off. You don't need it anymore. Then my adrenal gland, same thing. Heart didn't get off anymore. Didn't need it. Didn't have any more brain swelling. As the swelling left, it was induced by the wrong medications. They call it a medication error. They should have caught 20 years ago. Back then they called it medical malpractice. They were ripping you off. You're just sick. The only thing was wrong with you is your muscles locked up from having so many surgeries. They were cut too many times. And see, that's where in 9 months I learned to walk again. But I had to wait for all the swelling to go down and everything start working. My symptoms were all caused by the wrong medication, shutting everything down and making me swell up. And the only thing that was wrong with me is my muscles locked up from all those surgeries. Huh? Nothing to do with nothing. I was almost well, and they got killed. I got well 2 months later. Do you know how much Strange lied? Now, we all know he lied on Dave White that he blasphemed God and tried to kill himself. Well, he only did switch churches. He lied on Ron that he was cheating with Connie. He lied on Heather. She cheats on Nate. He lied on anybody he didn't like. Heather even, they lied on my niece Heather. She's like, these people will learn it's wrong to lie on people. Okay? I told you, my sister got caught following her husband. She came up to me at church and said I was following him again. My brother-in-law, Tim and Katie. Okay? And she said, I got caught and I think they thought it was you. I'm sorry. Be careful, and runs off. Well, Strange made up that lie. He made it up in October. I'd already been well for 4 months. Do you know how much I found out right before the case started? Do you know what he changed the lie? Now, I didn't get well till July. Okay? I still fell for 2 more months. It took me 4 months to get off the fentanyl patches. It took me about a year to be all the way well. Okay? Now, I want you to think about this. I can hear him outside. Okay, I want you to think about this. He told people he even changed his lie to make it more dramatic. I found out that bastard told everybody I was supposed to stood up in the middle of the funeral, yell, God healed me, and started walking around. My God, that never happened because the lie wasn't good enough, so he made it juicier. I didn't get well till July. And I was almost well when Phil was being arrogant, running late for a church baseball game, had a bunch of church people following him. So he blew through a stop sign with his grandkid in the car right into a semi. We're all at home. I was almost well. Strange lied on anybody he didn't like. You know, it makes you think of him as like a witch doctor in a third world country with his little voodoo dolls, yelling out lies on people. And people following for it and worshiping the witch doctor like a god. They did Jim Jones, they all killed themselves. David Koresh, they all killed themselves. How many occult leaders have people followed, killed for, and they lied to them or talked them into killing themselves? Lots. They brainwash them, and with fear and bullying, into listening to them. And that agent, now, even my doctor, in front of the police that were watching me the first month or two, was telling both me and Dave again, you always blame the steroids, but they had you on so much medication. Hard telling which one made you swell up so bad, or the combination thereof made everything quit working. It's a good thing you got off all of it and got on pain medicine and got out moving. It's a medication error they should have caught. 20 years ago, they called it medical malpractice, and they were ripping you off, making you sick, making you so you had to come back. Like those crackpot doctors that got people hooked on opioids and then had long lines of people to show up to get their high, being drug dealers. Well, these people were using high-end drugs, making people sick. Not every doctor is in it for the right reason. Like they said, they were getting kickbacks from the drug companies. Falsely diagnose you, write a big prescription out, your good insurance pays for it, and they get back kickbacks from the drug companies. Keep you sick, so you have to keep coming back, and they keep making money off you, sharing with your friends. There was nothing wrong with me, but my muscles all tightened up from being cut so many times in 2 years. You know what I needed? Massage therapy, a lot of rest, long walks, pain medicine until they healed, and I would have been fine. Maybe a chiropractor, stuff like that. Gently getting those muscles to relax, and I would have been fine. Because that's basically high doses of pain medicine. Long pulling myself around walking. Resting, and then getting up and doing it again. That's how I got well. I would keep trying to move the muscles and then relaxing on pain medicine and getting out moving again. That's how I got well. Now, do you think it's funny that that agent where I told him on a recorded line, someone told him he was verified by officers it was him. With his own admission on a recorded line, he already admitted it himself. You liar. And I said, he was up there. He didn't want the name of the church. Dave told Danny he talked to him. Officers in uniform said it was him. And then I tell him about the guy that threatened to knife me, calls me a liar. I tell him that he had tried to kidnap me before. He calls me a liar. He is wanted for killing Lori's family member, my other coworker, with a big bounty on his head for any information how to find him. And I'm telling him he's coming after me now. He's been coming after me. He's a human trafficker with a big bounty on his head. That's who he let go. What do you think about that? I'm describing a serial killer that the authorities know what he looks like. There's a big reward on his head. That's who he let go. Either say you're lying or I'll arrest you. Was there a camera above that bench or not? I don't know. Either say you're lying or I'll put you in jail. It's like, fine, whatever. Now I want you to say you were faking you were sick. Was I faking? Hell no. Feeding into a hysteria of a minister making up lies to cover up his son's adultery and getting rid of a witness he thought seen him. Him repeating a hysteria of a minister just lying. Like they said, that minister should have, if he was still alive, he would have needed to spend the rest of his life in prison. He should have been arrested the first day. Because why did they arrest the Amish men for cutting off beards? If you let a people abuse people. Exactly. Either say it or I won't help you. Now you say it or I won't help you. Hear me? Fine, whatever. Bullies me. There's badgering laws. Obstruction of justice, tampering with witnesses, big time. There's laws against the way he talked to me. Okay? Why would the FBI help a person like you? They're going to try to kill me. So, they don't care that apostolics kill people, but they care about Amish men's spirits? That's discrimination. They've tried to kill me. So, give me a real reason. The guy yells out my rapist's name. I've never met. He yells out we could use Pete's tape weird with yourself. It's a shower scene. They have admitted it as a shower scene. Okay? He said, and I said, what are you talking about? He starts giggling. Stops, you don't know. He knows I don't know. He yells out something about Pete. Now, I've never talked to him. They were just breaking in and drugging me up and telling me to say stuff. I'd wake up bruised, infected, throwing up, heart racing, almost passing out, seen by Altman family physicians all summer long for signs of being drugged, beaten, raped, and they weren't putting it together. I was being human trafficked out of my own home, and they were scamming me. And they yell out his name, and he starts giggling. Stop. She don't know. They're yelling out the hired hitman's name, and they didn't arrest him. Dave hired Pete on his own. There was no court order. There was no police. It was a drug cartel doing it. They went and confessed, and they didn't arrest him. He's giggling at me for being human trafficked and scammed. He wouldn't find it funny if Pete was doing it to his wife, would he? That's why they made fun of FBI agent John, June 7th, 23 at Walmart 62, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Tape and audio, show videos of it. Them mocking him. For falling for it. And they also saw videos of Eric, one of the drug dealers, mocking everybody for falling for it November 18th, 22 at Walmart 62 by the hair salon. How he fooled all these people with his stunner tapes before, and they were all about him and not me. They've already admitted they drugged me and told me to say whatever it is. They photoshopped everything and then laughed at everybody how they made fools out of them. The drug cartel. that pull back the facade of who's here. It's a drug cartel and conmen. And human traffickers. That's it. There's an officer listening and documenting everything. Give me a real reason why my brother-in-law worked for the government and I describe him. Well, I can take you somewhere and leave you. Don't come with no money. Well, I won't be homeless. Well, I can open an informant program if you get information on Dave in the churches. I can do that. I didn't know I was facing a drug cartel. There's a big difference. And he said, fine, I'm opening an account with $5,000 a month. And then the money and immunity even when I tell. Okay? And he'd make sure no one touched me and he'd protect me and da-da-da-da-da. Even when you tell, and then threaten me if I told. Okay? He can't threaten me if I tell. With his acknowledgement of Pete, Dave hired Pete on his own. He talked to Dave with his acknowledgement of stranger's lie and feeding into the hysteria of a minister covering up his son's adultery and keep changing the lie on top of that. To make it more dramatic. I told you, I got well in July. I found out that bastard. Now, he didn't throw me out until Linda got caught in October. Okay? He told people to make it more dramatic, more juicy, that I was supposed to have stood up in the middle of the funeral in May and yelled, God healed me, and started walking around. My God, that never happened. He kept changing his lie to make it juicier and more dramatic. He was a compulsive liar to control people. He was a minister, not a doctor. He sure didn't talk to Altman Family Physicians. You know that? He went on a minister's lie. And all these people have been running around acting like nuts in a call and then on a minister's lie. Everything goes into remission from cancer to whatever. And fibromyalgia, where your muscles lock up, go into remission 80% of the time in 2 years. What makes you swell up and everything quit working? The wrong medications. I want you to think about that. The wrong medications. That's why you get well when you get off of them, because you didn't need them. If you started taking insulin, your pancreas would stop working. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of other side effects from your pancreas not working. I want you to think about that. You take the wrong drugs or chemicals, they shut things down and have side effects. I know somebody that they had a heart defect. The doctor said the medication at 200 milligrams would be fine, but 800 was toxic. It fixed his heart though. It burned his whole insides. He's on oxygen. It burned his lungs. The guy closed up his practice and moved to Cleveland. He almost killed him. He's got cancer now. See, they're drugs. Where they say you can have side effects, there really is side effects. And when you don't need the medication and they give you some, something bad's going to happen to you. He just lied. There's no attorney involved. An attorney would tell these people to shut the F up. Because I'll tell you what, that's where my friend from the prosecutor's office, it's a fraud scheme, Karen. It's illegal to be in somebody's home no matter what, but protective like cases with statements. Nobody can be in your home. It's the Fourth Amendment. That he said where they kicked in your door, they probably did set up button cameras. He said they probably did Photoshop that shower scene they're all talking about. He said where you had the signs of being drugged, where you were sick, you were throwing up, you didn't know what was happening to you, and you had bruises and da-da-da. He said they probably did drug you up until you say something stupid with a roofie. He said, but you know what? They could never use it against you. They made a big mistake. They did it in your home. It's a fraud scheme. As if they could do that. It's a right to privacy. He said, I heard of a weird case of an officer surveillancing someone on their own, and then they found out they went to a judge, and the judge ripped that cop a new one. That man has a right to privacy. You knew better than ever be in his home. I could never look or listen. He can sue you for it. Cop can go to jail 2 to 20 years. That's where Officer Reinhardt, even the FBI, would go to jail being in your home outside that protected light case with statements. And that agent had agreed to protect you and have statements or they couldn't be in your home. Portage County Sheriff's, Ravenna Police, Department of Justice, the Constitution. It's a big drug scam. Pull back the facade of who's doing this. It's drug dealers, human traffickers, and con men.